And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I'm Michael DeLon. Today I'm talking with Miriam Ortiz y Pino. And Miriam is going to help us understand how to be more than organized. And first of all, Miriam, thank you for being my guest on Expert Speak.
You are welcome. I'm so happy to be here.
It is going to be a really fun conversation because this is something that I've studied, I've learned, but I'm sure I have so much more to learn. So I'm glad you're here. I'm not going to dive into your background and all that. I'm going to let you do that. Okay. So I want to know, Miriam, how in the world did you get to doing what you do today?
Yeah. So at a certain point in time, I became unemployable. I knew too much and I didn't want to work for anyone else. So I started looking at what was I really good at? What could I do to start my own business? And every job I had ever had, since I worked for a friend of my mom's when I was 11 through restaurants and concert venues and interior design firms and photographers. And then I was at Crate and Barrel, and every single thing I did had something to do with getting organized or organizing the systems. And so I thought, well, that's the common thread, and that's the piece I really enjoy about work. I should look into that. So that's how I got to the organizing part. And then I just followed that small business administration checklist, opened a business.
I love it. I love it. So it's what I want to do is I want to get really practical, okay? Because we think organization, and I'm sure some of my audience is going, yeah, whatever. No, don't do that. We're going to energize you because you have this really unique approach to organization and money and everything and how it relates with entrepreneurs. Just help us understand kind of what is it that you do, and then we'll talk about who needs the help and all that.
Right. So when I started working with clients at first, I was just doing residential organizing clients, and we were going through stuff. And I didn't really think it mattered what people wanted or any of that. It was just like, let's get rid of all the junk and then organize what's left. And I realized that most of my clients were small business owners or creatives, like artists and writers and things. And none of them really had a handle on how to create their own system. Some of them were fine working. If I set it up, they could maintain it, but they had no idea how to start. And I realized it's because they had no idea what they wanted to get out of their stuff. They just had a bunch of stuff. So I started looking into how to learn and teach how to think about your stuff and change your relationship with it. And I realized how you do money is how you do everything. All my clients that had a bunch of stuff didn't know how much money they had. They had piles and piles of paper and bills, and they avoided it. And it was like all the same thing. And so at the same time, I was figuring out how to run my own business. And I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a lot of information out there for very large businesses and for employees. There's not a whole lot for small, like 1 to 10 person businesses. There's just not. And the situations about money aren't the same as you make decisions at a big firm.
Right.
It's a little bit different criteria. And so I had to learn money mindset myself. I had to hire my own coach and kind of go through a couple different programs and figure out, what is it? Why am I thinking about money wrong? Why is it so up and down? Why can't I get it consistent? Why do I run out before the end of the month? Like all those things. When I had a paycheck, I was really good at, and all of a sudden it was cash flow, not paycheck. And it was like, what do I do? So I learned that stuff for myself. And then I started sharing it with my clients. So I use a framework called Sacred Money Archetypes. Kind of like a personality test for your relationship with money, but it turns out that tells me all kinds of insight about how you deal with your things. And so I know where to push people and where to pull back from going too far with someone in terms of pressuring them to keep or get rid of something.
Yeah, no, that's really good because you didn't ask my father-in-law passed away last year. My wife just spent 10 days with her mom going through 30 years of papers from their house, right? And it's like, and she's like, I can't push her too much because, well, she's 70 and all of that. So that's a very intriguing insight right there. And the difference, I want to talk about the difference. I talk all the time, Miriam, about the value of hiring coaches. You've hired a coach. I have a lot of coaches. I always tell my audience, it's important to understand the value of hiring a coach. So in this aspect, we're talking about hiring a money coach, an organization coach, all rolled into one
Yes.
because they all tie together. Unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, I am all about simplifying things. So why study 4 different things? You could study one and apply it to 4 things.
Love that.
And I've always been really good at seeing patterns. So I can see where things are connected where other people can't. So hiring a coach is like shining a spotlight on those pieces that are so obvious to outsiders, but we can't see ourselves.
Yes.
And so that's what I bring to the table. It's all about the connection between the money mindset, the productivity, the organization, and all the people that tell me, oh, we don't have to worry about that pile over there. It's fine. Really, if you dealt with that pile, all these other things would also clear up.
It really is. And the mindset is really, really important because entrepreneurs, we don't connect the fact that I've got a pile of junk over here, but my marketing is not quite working right. And by the way, my bank account, I don't know. My bank says I have money, so I can go spend. And there's a thread there.
Yeah, it turns out our unconscious brain is processing information and trying to process what's in that pile every time you look at it. Even if you think you know what's in that pile, your subconscious knows you don't. Right. So it's trying to get more information every time it walks by that pile. It's using energy that you could be using for your creative endeavors or to make other connections yourself for your business. And by just taking care of it, it takes that worry out of your subconscious brain and allows that energy to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
But also it empowers you because now you actually know what's in that pile.
And you got a check mark because it's done.
Right. Yes, you get a feedback loop that I am capable of being an adult and taking care of my things. And yeah, I can't tell you how many of my clients will go, oh, I know everything that's in that pile. And I turn it over. I'll take the pile of paper and just turn it over and go, okay, what's in there? And they can't tell me because they don't actually know. They just remembered that they put a bunch of stuff there. So they must know what it is. They just can't remember it right now.
Right. Yeah.
But that's not how our brains work. Yeah.
Well, it's not. And one of the beauties of Miriam is she understands how the brain works and things like that. But she simplifies it in the fact that you don't have to go out and buy a book on time management and a book on this and don't do that. Reach out and find somebody like her who understands it all and can have that outside perspective. So Miriam, I tell people all the time, I'm a marketing guy. Okay. But I have 3 marketing coaches that look into our business because I'm too close to it to see it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Same thing here, right?
Yeah. I mean, one of my old jobs was in marketing. I went to marketing school. I know all about marketing. I can't do my own copywriting. Like I can do the drafts, I can do it, but I can't edit it or look at it and go, what's wrong with it? I have to have other eyes on it. So yeah, I totally get that in relation to the marketing. But also because our bodies do develop habits that involve muscle memory and unconscious thinking, once it's an actual habit, you don't realize that the thing you've always done doesn't serve you anymore. That's right. Because you're not even actually consciously thinking about it when you're doing it. You just do it. And then you're like, why doesn't this work? Well, you're not 25 anymore. It's different to lose weight now. You aren't going to fit in those clothes anymore. The washing machine now is a front loader with a different capacity. You can't fit everything in there. You know, like all these little things come up that we don't adjust for because we're in a habit of already using what used to work. Yeah,
very much. And I think it was you, I was reading on your website about habits and goals and different things of that nature. And I mean, we are constantly inundated with goals, whatever. And then a couple of people come out with habit books and things. Help us understand those, I guess, the nuances, the differences, and all of that.
Yeah. So it turns out most people call goals the thing that's really objectives. And objectives are kind of the set of tasks, the measurable part, the SMART goals, if you will, that will get you to a desired outcome.
Okay.
And rather than focusing on just the tasks and the measuring of all the little objectives to get to your desired outcome, we really need to focus on that desired outcome so that things that present themselves along the way can inform and improve our performance and measurements for those objectives. So you have to have both. But if you only focus on the objectives and tasks, you finish things and you go, done.
Yeah.
Yay.
That's right. Exactly. Yippee.
But if you do a bunch of things that get you to your desired outcome, you're going to be much more satisfied and fulfilled when you actually finish that particular project or reach that desired outcome. And it tends to tie all these different aspects of our lives and what we like to focus on and how we do good work and how it relates to all our feelings and thoughts. It all works together. So by all means, set some goals, but make sure they are tied to achieving or aspiring to an actual bigger desired outcome so that you get that satisfaction, finish that habit loop, the feedback loop that tells you you are capable of doing great things, and you're more likely to do that.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, the habits that don't serve us. And what came to my mind is that pile that's on the desk, that it's a habit of going, oh, I know what's in, I know what's in there, I know what's in there.
Exactly.
That's a habit that is not serving you. How many of those do you have in your life?
We all have many. Even those of us that practice, even the people that wrote all the habit books. And I don't know how many of those habit books you've read. I've read most of them. Hey, it's all the same thing, everyone. It's like getting a coach. You find the one that resonates for you. And sometimes this little piece from this book and this little piece from this book and this little piece, but as long as you tie it back to the overall concept of the habit loop, which is you need a cue for when you're going to start the behavior. You need to pre-plan the obstacles, like what am I going to do if this happens? And you need to repeat it over and over and over till you don't have to think about it anymore. It's like driving a car. Those first few times you drove a car, you had to adjust your mirror and the seat and the seat belt and the mirrors and the emergency brake and all the things. And then you would start the car and then you would go. And now you just do all those things and you don't even realize you're doing them all the time. And it's faster because you now are in the habit and you aren't having to actually think through the checklist.
Right.
But starting with the checklist, and then you got to implement a reward so that your brain takes you seriously.
Yeah. Checklist. I love that because we're big on systems. The checklist is a system to get things done on a regular basis, right?
Yeah.
And let's talk a little bit about things that get in the way of people becoming more productive or staying organized. Because it's one thing to get organized, staying organized, and then tying all that back into entrepreneurship and being able to make more money. What are some things that get in our way? How do you help people get past these things?
Yeah. So there's a few different things. The two that are biggest, I think, for my clients and entrepreneurial clients is they think they can do the systems later instead of you got to have something in place and then you iterate as new things come up or you adjust.
Yeah.
And so they put it off. It's one of those things. It's not that important. I'll do it next week. I'll do it next quarter. I'll do it next year when I have this new employee, when this happens. And instead, you're just scrambling around in between. So start with at least a basic framework system that you can add and subtract from. The other thing is maybe it's perfectionism, maybe it's procrastination, maybe it's perfectionist procrastination that have to do this first before I do the other thing. And that's what happens. That goes back to those objectives versus desired outcomes. A lot of times people focus on like, I can't get a client till I have my website perfect, right? Or, oh, I can't update that thing. I can't write the book. I can't do the thing until the other thing is done. And it's like, well, if you're looking at it for your desired outcome, maybe doing that little thing gets you the information you need to do the thing you thought you had to start with. And that's why you haven't done it, because you didn't have that piece of paper from the pile you refused to sort. And once you find that, it all comes together and angels sing and you know what you're doing and it's easy and you're in flow and you knock it out. Right. So at a certain point, realizing there's a connection between what you're avoiding and how it's affecting your actual work and your actual outcomes.
Yeah, because the key element to success is taking actions every day. And if you've got a habit or something that's distracting you, that you're not getting something done, stop, pull back and think. And that's why Miriam's so valuable, is because she can help you with that outside perspective to think maybe differently, but to ask questions and to go, let's look at this. Well, no, I'm not talking about that, Miriam. No, let's look at that.
You say that, but you've mentioned it like 12 times in the last 20 minutes. I think we should look at that. There's something there.
Yeah. And Mary can
Yeah.
give you a feedback loop all of her own, right? But
Mhm.
many times as entrepreneurs, we are just like putting the blinders on like a racehorse,
Mhm.
and we're just plowing down the raceway,
Yeah.
unbeknownst that, you know what? If we just did a couple things differently, we might be able to win the race, right? Is that a bad analogy? I don't know.
No, I think that's a good one. You have to look up every once in a while and reorient and see where you are, see what's changed. I find my profession, the professional organizers tend to be a little stuck. Some of them are a little stuck and have been doing things the exact same way for 30, 40 years. They don't necessarily embrace new technologies right away. They don't necessarily embrace new products or lack of products or materials.
Yeah.
And you got to look up every once in a while and wonder, am I just doing the tasks? Am I just grinding all the time? Or is there some enjoyment I can be getting out of it while I do it, while I build it, while I create it? What creativity can you bring to the process? And what does your stuff say about you? It's like getting therapy at the same time. You get to go on this little journey of self-discovery at the same time. It's
I
fabulous.
love it. Yeah. Which is good because as business owners, we all need an outlet, right?
Mhm.
And self-discovery is a great outlet, but we don't ever get there because we're too busy doing things
Right.
and hitting walls and moving piles
Yep.
and tripping over things on my floor and all of that stuff that Miriam can help you with in getting organized, but it's not organized, it's more than organized. That's why I love the name of the company that you came up with, More Than Organized.
Thank you.
Because it's not just about having a nice, crisp, clear thing and my pens go here and my paper clips go there. Well, that's all well and good.
Mhm.
What's the objective? What's the outcome? How does that help me? And
Right.
right
Why do you want to get organized?
there,
It's,
you
you
go.
know, I always ask people the 5 layers of why. So Simon Sinek has the big why, which I love, but you got to have the 5 layers. The why are you going to do that? 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 And it turns out most people would love a nurturing and supportive environment to do their best work and live their fullest life. And they don't ever bother to set it up. And then they wonder why they're miserable.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's rocket science. Yeah, I love the 5 layers of why. I've never quite called it that, but I've
Yeah.
used that most of my life. Is just and
Mhm.
I'll tell. I'm going to ask you why 5 times. You're going to get really mad, but that's okay. Here's where it's
Right.
going. Because you never get it until you get down to that 5th or 6th
Right.
layer. And go,
Yeah. It's
oh,
like
I do that.
every single one of my clients that I do it with, it starts out with, I'm overwhelmed. I need more time. My kids are annoying me. Like
All of that. Yeah.
all the way down. And it never doesn't end up being, I want a nurturing and supportive environment to live my life in.
And it's
Yeah.
all orchestratable, if that's even a word.
Mhm.
Say you can put this together.
Yeah.
It's challenging to do it on your own. You probably could, but why?
Yeah.
Why would
It's
you spend the
boring
time,
to
effort,
do it
and
on
energy
your own.
of trying to figure it all out? You go watch some YouTube videos, go buy a book, no, call Miriam.
Read the book. Don't take action. Buy
Feel
another
guilty.
book 3 months from now thinking that book didn't work, but
Yeah,
really you didn't take the action. So
that's right.
what are you going to do to get in action?
That's right. And that's where the beauty of having Miriam on your side helps, because she's that coach in a sense that just keeps you focused, but on the right things, because she's going to see things in your life, in your world, that you're probably overlooking.
Right.
And it's those little things, believe it or not, that can really propel you faster forward, so that, as weird as it sounds, your productivity is going to go up, your profit's going to go up by changing some things that's outside of sales and marketing.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of what Miriam does, is she can just look into your life, have some conversations, and understand you at a different level than probably most people around you. And a book's not going to do it. A book's going to give you tactics, and they're good.
They won't last.
They won't last. And tactics and things can get you organized, right?
Mhm.
And they're good. And watching Simon Sinek on YouTube is good, but it's just, dare I say, never enough. There's always something.
You
That's where somebody like you comes in, right?
Yeah. And I think it goes back to the brain stuff we were talking about. You can understand something intellectually, but until you integrate it into your actual behavior, it's not going to have the same effect. You are
Mm.
not going to process it in the same way. Your brain will be like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
It may or may not actually remember to do it next time. But if you practice it a few times and you actually notice the results, the difference in the results you're getting,
Yeah.
even if it's hard, because it is hard in the beginning, because you're learning something new and a new way of approaching it. And then all of a sudden one day it's like, oh, this day was easier for me.
Right.
I didn't have all that stuff fall out on me when I opened the cabinet. I was on time for my meeting. I had all my things for the meeting. I made
Yeah.
a sale and I knew where to put the paperwork.
Yeah. All of that.
Whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's all of that rolled into one big, wonderful ball of yarn that is you.
Mhm.
And what you find is that you end up building a supportive environment. You end up
Yep.
loving life
Mhm.
because it's not like all your problems go away, but as they come, you have places to put them, ways to process them. And then if you get stuck, Miriam's there to go, oh yeah, how about this? Because coaches, one of the things I love about coaches is we have a broad experience over a big spectrum.
Yeah.
And our clients many times have a little bit of experience in a small spectrum.
Yeah.
And they think we're brilliant because we're like, well, have you thought about this? Because I learned it over there. And they're like, well, no, how'd you know that? So, because I work with somebody over there and it's the same thing.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? How people don't think their problems are like anyone else's.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's like, oh, we all have the same ones. We've just seen a variety of approaches to solving it.
That's right.
And you may have seen one or two.
That's right. And
Yeah.
it's just that perspective to come in to go, how can we help you become more than organized? So I don't want you to listen to this episode and go, oh, it's about organization. Well, yes, but no.
It's more.
It's about so much more than being organized. And so that's great. All right, Miriam, you and I could talk about this for days.
Seems like it.
Yeah, no, because there's just a lot there. So now that you've moved from being unemployable to running your own company, how do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, I think the easiest way is to go to my website, morethanorganized.net. There's a contact form there. There's some free resources, including the 1-minute mail solution. There's all my social media links are there as well. So
I love that. Super simple. I'm going to grab it in the show notes in case you're walking the dog or exercising or maybe looking through that pile of papers on your desk. More than organized.net is where you're going to find Miriam. And obviously she can help you. She's got some great free resources on her website. Email is one of them. So go check that one out. But find out what she can do to help you in your life to make some sense out of some things that might be unsensical right now. I think that's a Dr. Seuss word. To be able to put some things together and to find some common threads to help you become more productive, more profitable, and really enjoy life more by becoming, well, more than organized. So Miriam, wow, this has been lots of fun. I appreciate it. Love your energy. Love your perspective. Thank you for being my guest today.
You are welcome, Michael. Thanks for having me.